Tim, we're happy that you're here with us. Let me share everyone a bit more in your background. Tim is a seasoned entrepreneur, and he's really a great example of why I come to every one of our events. I've never missed one of our 300 events to date. And selfishly, I design them so that I learn more at each one, and I don't want to get bored at my own event. So if there's a really boring speaker on stage, you're probably not going to see him the next time. And I ask the questions for the discussion panels. I script them based on what I want to learn, what I think you guys will find interesting. And when I started this business, I had less money in my bank account than I had due for rent that month in Harvard Square. And I've learned everything from interviewing people just like Tim. Tim is the founder and CEO of Eggs Unlimited. He's a 20-year veteran of the egg industry. Often called the egg whisperer, he's helped build the company alongside a talented team into a business that does $900 million a year in revenue. Tim holds an MBA from California State University and is a lifelong Orange County native who enjoys time with his family, staying fit, and hosting friends. What else would you add to your bio, Tim, before we get started?
Is this working? Oh, good. Fifth generation Orange County. Two younger brothers that I've worked with for 20 years. Very blessed to have them in my life.
Awesome. And one thing I wanted to emphasize is that part of the point of hosting the events is that throughout your whole life, you might only have so many cups of coffee with someone who does $900 million a year in revenue, right? That's pretty unique. So if you're at any other event globally and you see someone who's amazing on stage and we should have them here just like Tim, let us know. But that's part of the motivation to fill the stage with such talks. So Tim, how'd you first get into the egg business? Like, I don't even know if I know another person in the egg trade myself.
I get that a lot. I graduated college, went on some interviews, got a couple job offers, took them to my dad to get some advice. And he said he knew someone that worked for an egg company. I should go interview with him. And so he got me a job over there, basically. So it's pretty random because I am from Orange County, from a city boy. I'm not from the Midwest or something. That's where most of the eggs are produced. And so, I worked there. I had great mentors. I learned a lot, was supported. They let me make decisions. They let me fail. I worked there for 17 years, grew the company together, made some good money together. Simultaneously to that, and even before that, I had a lot of side gigs, a lot of businesses to varying success, a lot of failures. So when you compare against, all those data points and, compare it to the egg business that I was halfway decent at one thing, it's pretty obvious what I was going to do.
Right. So a lot of times when people get to 5 million in revenue, 3 million in revenue, they start diversifying. They start 3 more businesses like, oh, not only eggs, let's sell broccoli. Let's go into poultry meat. Let's go into beef or sausage. Did you try that for a bit? Did you try 20 different things? So you seem to be laser focused on something, but have scaled it massively.
Yeah. Eventually we trade other products. There's a lot of different kinds of eggs. There's shell eggs, there's liquid egg, there's frozen eggs, there's dried eggs. And so you kind of naturally get into that kind of stuff. And then, we've tried to trade other products as well. And we do a fair amount of that now, but no, our bread and butter is eggs. And I've seen a lot of mistakes made. People just get distracted. Diversification is a good word, but also a bad word.
Got it. What was a major turning point that really led to you getting accelerated momentum?
Well, I was working there, and for the last 7 years, I helped run the company. I was paid a % of the bottom line. The owner on March 15th, 2019, decided he didn't want to do that anymore. So my bonus check arrived very light. I was devastated, actually. I tried to work it out for 4 weeks. I could not. I resigned. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me. There was no plan. I just figured if I could just get a couple people at my other company that I was trading with to trade with me on my own, I'd be kind of sort of okay, be able to put food on my table. But it was shocking. Tons of calls came in. Virtually everyone I was trading with at that other company started trading with me at this new company. And within 3 months of my bonus check being light, what I thought was the worst thing that ever happened to me turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me professionally.
Awesome. So when did you realize you could scale massively? Was it just like looking back after that first quarter? Was there like a big client that came over and then everybody followed?
Yeah, probably both. I mean, I'd say, people. So people saw what we were doing, and we were able to generate enough money to hire amazing people, amazing, aggressive people that totally legitimized every department of our company. They were able to set it up. They attracted other great talent on the sales side. People, I knew how to shell eggs, but we brought in experts that could do dried eggs and frozen eggs. They're all kind of interconnected. So I wouldn't call that too much diversification. It's all eggs. But when they're putting together deals that I don't even understand that are just amazing for the company, it's pretty obvious that we're going to scale, substantially. And then I guess to your point, when 2/3 of the shell eggs are bought by grocery stores. And so pretty early on, we were able to kind of get our first grocery store chain. They took a chance on us, and we did a good job for them. It led to many others. And so we shut down all our other, shut down and sold all our other businesses and focused on this one.
What's one strategy that is worth well over $1 million that you wish someone told you earlier?
It's all about the people. Everyone says it, but I learn it more and more every year. It's all about the people. If you got B players, it's a problem. I mean, if you have bad employees, you're going to have bad. You're not even going to be in business at all. Actually, you got okay players, you're going to have an okay company. You got good employees, you're going to have a good company. If you have great employees, you're going to have a great company. And it doesn't matter if you're running NVIDIA or whatever, you mentioned car wash or whatever it is, like you got to have great employees. And so it's about trying to interview those folks, kind of perfecting that art, being super picky. I've made so many mistakes. I mean, go down the list of massive amounts of mistakes, but one of them is, getting pressure from my people like, oh my gosh, there's so much, everyone's working 100 hours a week. People are getting burnt out. There's a lot of complaints. There's mistakes. We can't even handle the volume we have now. I mean, we're supposed to grow 25% in the next 3 months. We got to get bodies in here. Bodies. Relax my hiring standards. What a mistake. You cannot relax your hiring standards. So then you get the B and C players coming in. And even if you don't relax your hiring standards, you're not going to bat 1,000. You're still going to have B and C players get in. You have to identify that. You have to get them out. And from a human perspective, you got to do that as quick as possible anyway, because if they're a B player at your shop, that doesn't mean that they're a B player everywhere else. They could be an A player at someone else's place. Give them the opportunity. Like, don't waste their time. They could be thriving right now. So you got to get them out I'd say, and so you have a lot of A players, and you want to have a culture. The culture is probably the other part of that, where it's like you just have to spend time trying to develop an incredible culture. It's so important, especially as you grow, whether that be, continually instilling your mindset, committees, happy hours, mentorship programs, kind of go down the list. You have to have that. And once you are left with a bunch of A players, hopefully, you have to give them the ball. You have to give them the ball. You have to provide clear direction. Make sure they don't get distracted, because A players will get distracted. They take on too much, and I'm half talking to myself here. But you have to let them make decisions, and you have to let them fail. And it's okay to fail. It's okay to make big dollar mistakes. You could kind of like let that, that's just part of tuition. It's okay.
Awesome. Yeah, we hear that a lot about people. We interviewed a billionaire here on stage, Larry Connor, And if you look in the Circle app, you could search his name and find that in the video library. And he said 90% of problems are people problems, and 90% of the opportunities turn into people opportunities. And we hear that quite often. But it's actually acting on it and prioritizing that above everything else, I guess, is the harder part, because most people have heard it. So if you looked at costly mistakes that you've made or seen others make, they're not related to culture or people issues, what are some other costly mistakes you've seen others make?
We are, making acquisitions and stuff. So we're seeing a lot of stuff recently, and some of the stuff is kind of head scratching to me. I mean, like you get these companies that make some money, they reinvest in their business, but they reinvest into like non-core businesses. So going back to that diversification, you got to be real careful with that. And even, I mean, this is kind of controversial, but at least in our business, we're an asset-light food trading company. And we're trying to acquire asset-light food trading companies. And these companies, they go and they make some money, and then they decide to go and become vertically integrated. Well, I guess that's good for some folks, but I've just seen a lot of issues with this where it's like, okay, now they own a field or a farm or a plant or whatever it is. And instead of like trading and doing what they do and hustling, they're, dealing with the people problems over here, the operational issues at the plant. We finally have a good opportunity on the trading side. Let's buy 100 trucks of something. Oh no, we can't do that because all our money's stuck over at the plant. It's in the plant. So it's like, you got to be real careful when it comes to that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Got it. Makes sense. What about work ethic? Do you have your team working weekends, working 100-hour weeks? Like how do you handle that in terms of culture and expectations?
We work a lot. We're pretty direct with people. Like, I don't want to say what I'm about to say. I'll keep it to myself, but we're pretty this job isn't for everyone. If you don't want to work, we can. Yeah. So yeah, that's a tough one. But going back to the other question, said simpler, I think you gotta really save your money in business. I mean, you have to have plenty of cash buffer. We all know stuff's going to go bad. It always goes bad. Something's going to happen. This month, next month, whatever. There's going to be an issue. And I've seen all these companies, and myself included, I'm not immune to this, running around. You spent your extra cash. Now you have an issue. Now you're like begging banks. You're running around, spending all this time, flying around the country. Maybe your leadership team is trying to, calm investors or get new investors. All this time doing that instead of just like not doing any of that and focusing on your core business, pushing that forward every day, focused on the P&L. Like that's like, and the idea that you're going to like gamble. I mean, I'm not saying reinvest in your business. Of course, reinvest in your business. Only drop off a percentage of it, of your excess cash. So, yeah.
Got it. Yeah. I see that really often is that the people that maybe get to 5 or 10 million of net worth or revenue might just work smart and only worked hard for a little bit, but to really scale and get to 100 million in revenue or a larger net worth, et cetera, it takes being smart and getting smarter all the time and, work ethic and extreme focus. What are some other mental models that you run on that you think have been a key to your success that are not obvious from what you've said already?
Gosh, I'd say, as you talk about $5 and $10 million businesses, if you have a $5 million business, there's a couple things. One is you have to make sure that you have a good business with high margins or a lot of volume with a lot of income streams. It's so important because when you don't have that, bad things are going to happen. We just talked about, and at least you're starting from a margin up here, and then now you're down here, but at least you're still making a P&L. Plus, if you want to scale that business to 100 million or a billion or whatever it is, you have to have enough margin and money in there to pay people a lot of money. That's how you're going to get the A players. and then you have to create infrastructure and be able to still have enough money to reinvest. And so the idea that like you're working on kind of a small margin, small volume type business, there's just no way to scale that. And you have to be careful there.
Got it. What do you wish 25-year-old Tim knew that you know now that you haven't mentioned yet?
It's going to be okay. You know, like, hyper frenzy, frantic 25-year-old me, hyper focused on these unreasonable goals. Goals are good and bad, and just do the best you can every day, and it's going to be okay. Now, he wouldn't have listened, and I know that because the 46-year-old version is sitting up here right now in front of you, and I still struggle with that. I still struggle. It's this constant go frenzy obsession. And I'm better now, but it's going to be okay.
Dan Sullivan says some people come with batteries included, some don't. So figure it out that quickly when you're hiring people. And I was going to ask you, how do you stay motivated? It seems like maybe your problem is you almost stay too motivated, but like, is it naturally just wired in you to be like high action, go like build big, etc.?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I would say, I'm very blessed, so lucky and blessed to be able to get to do what I do. I love to do what I do every day. And, as entrepreneurs, a lot of entrepreneurs in here, it's a big advantage. Business is our hobby, and we just love it. So, working at night is not really working. It's just having fun, So, I think just getting up and, doing the best I can to win the game every day. Also, I think, to stay motivated, for me, to whom much is given, much is required. It's a purpose of mine now to give back in a lot of ways. And one of those ways is I got to provide opportunities for my employees who help get the company here. So, there's a lot of work to do still.
Got it. What advice would you have for anyone here in the room that would love to reach out to and schedule a breakfast meeting with somebody that's doing 90 million in revenue or 900 million in revenue? I'm sure you have a ton coming at you. You have to ignore most pitches and requests for your time and like, oh, let's catch up on a call with, et cetera. So like, how do you, what gets your attention? What gets through all that noise to get you to reply to someone or engage with someone?
Gosh. I mean, I think it's what you said earlier. I mean, I'm not replying to emails or cold calls. I mean, I guess that's not true. If someone says, well, I get approached every day for someone to buy my business, of course, so if it's a legit company, Goldman or whoever, like, I'll fire back like, well, we're not for sale, but what do you have to offer? That kind of thing. Advice for the room, I'd say, we okay on time?
Yeah, go for it.
I think it just goes back to what we were just talking about, the goal. Be careful with goals. As entrepreneurs, we love to, we have high pain tolerances. And, that could be, those are cool words like grit and resilience. And those are good things to have, but it's like, another word to say that is, well, yeah, I could hit my head against this wall more than most people. It's like, but is that a good thing? So, you have to make sure that your goals, like you have to step back and like, if you're constantly making excuses, for your P&L because, something bad happened or, whatever, this happened, that happened. So we had another bad period, another bad year. You got to watch out for that because, and I'm not saying that my business is the best business. It's not. There's thousands of businesses better than my business, but at least I know that I could have some bad things happen, but I'll still be able to make a P&L. And that has not always been the case. There has been businesses that I just obsessed over getting to these goals. What an idiot. Like I should have never done that. I should have exited that business a long time ago. There was always an excuse. Well, the weather was bad, or this was bad, or this, like you got to like, if you're constantly making excuses, you got to really take a step back and figure out like, are you really in the right business?
So part of it is getting out of businesses that just aren't working or just aren't aligned, or in your case, like maybe too asset heavy, et cetera. But also underneath some of what you're saying about being careful, about getting obsessed with goals. I mean, obviously from a growth standpoint, that's worked out really well for you. But obviously it seems like underneath it all, you're saying like, maybe, are you saying prioritize health and family or something else more? Like, are you saying you become too obsessed with goals and it can become negative even if you do grow?
Yeah. Like we were in Togo's and Baskin-Robbins franchises, and so we wanted to get to 100 stores. Well, by 16 stores, we're like, oh, this business isn't working at all. But we should have realized that like on the 4th store. But like, so we wasted so many years and keep developing it, and it's like, and so you just be cognizant of like, look at the history, look at the P&L. I mean, it's all about the P&L always and forever. Everyone should know that in this room. And like, if you're not making a P&L, you got to be careful there. Now, goals are good, but also like, and goals are, I'm not saying goals are good or bad, and especially when you're talking about with your team, everyone needs to be aligned on goals. What race you're racing, where's the finish line, all that stuff. But take a step back and monitor, as time goes, like you're learning, you should be learning as you go, and it might not be wise to hit that goal. So maybe you should change the goal. Don't be afraid to do that. I made that mistake a lot. And now it's, to be open with you, I don't have too many goals now, but dedicated to the business. So, yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Let's give Tim a big round of applause. Thank you.